Jefferson Parish Diversity and Inclusion Board would like to recognize the 31st anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act, the civil rights law that prohibits discrimination based on disability. The law requires local governments to make their services and activities accessible to the disabled. In particular, local governments must communicate effectively with people with hearing, vision, and speech disabilities. Today, we welcome Shari Bernius of the Deaf Action Center and Ester McAllister to discuss the impact of this historic legislation. Ester, could you talk about some of the obstacles that you faced before the ADA became law?
Yes, I remember, both of my parents are deaf, and always had to depend on my brother. My brother, he spoke well. He was, English, and because my brother had to go to school, I didn't have anybody to help me, so I didn't know how to communicate. Both my parents being deaf, using ASL, their English, their ASL language is different than English, so we had to try to do the best we could. I was frustrated, I was nervous. Later, as time went on, with the ADA, and we now have interpreters, the communication's much easier. Sometimes when, the doctor, is speaking to the interpreter, and wants to tell me something, I have to say, no, you speak to me. I'm the deaf person. With the ADA, things are much better.
In the past year, with COVID and all the many weather events that we had last year that we had to deal with, how important is it to have sign interpreting provided, say, by people like Shari at the parish's press briefings?
Yes, it has improved. 2021, I see much improvement, and it has, it's gotten better since 2021. Now the interpreter stands next to the podium, and we can see the interpreter. Sometimes the cameraman will kind of move the camera to the left or right, and the interpreter is out of the screen, so I'm not able to see the interpreter the whole time. But it's good to have an interpreter. I feel more comfortable now knowing what's happening out there. So I'm more comfortable with having the interpreter right next to the podium so I can look at the speaker and the interpreter at the same time.
So with COVID going on, you feel like you are able to get adequate information when the interpreter is signing at the press conferences?
Yes, that's true. It's, with the interpreter being right next to the presenter, it's much better.
Can this service make a difference between staying safe and remaining healthy during these events?
Yes, it's much better. With the interpreter, it's clear, and the interpreter lets me know what's going on in the community, about the virus, about the mask. With the rumors that go around in the community, I don't know what's going on. It's better to hear it straight from a press conference and have the interpreter explain it.
And finally, Esther, is there anything else you'd like to add about the importance of the Americans with Disabilities Act?
Because of the ADA, the interpreter is there and available to interpret press conferences. In the past, there was no interpreter, and the person up there speaking, I didn't know what they were saying. In the past, I've seen where the interpreters are in a little bitty bubble. It's real small, and it's so hard to see the interpreter in that little bitty bubble. So having the interpreter right next to the presenter live, I can see the interpreter better, and it makes it easier for me to see the interpreter and what they're saying.
Well, thank you both for joining us today.
Thank you.